Hello, this is Jed Brewer with Study Group in the Below the Line Club. It's very nice to have you on the call today as we talk about C-store design with generations in mind. Most of our businesses have been around for some time. We are trying to build a business for the future that may be a multi-generational business. And at the same time, we're experiencing different generations in our customer base. Some older folks who kind of like the way things have been, a younger generation who wants to engage with technology in a different way. And how do we meet the needs of these varying folks? At the same time, how do we serve the needs of perhaps our ownership group or our firm that has different generations inside? And how do we develop our stores from a design perspective to ultimately meet these sometimes competing needs? So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and really excited to have three industry experts on the call. One is Mike Lawshe, who's president of Paragon Solutions, and the other is his right-hand man, Austin Burns, who's the head of business development for Paragon. And then along with them is a study group member, Trenton Langston, who's from the owning family of Calloway Oil, which is also known as Easy Stop out of the Appalachia region. So thank you guys for being on the call today. Brief bit about Paragon so you understand who they are, but they've been serving our industry for over 30 years. The Paragon Solution team helps guide people through the design process. Their area of expertise includes site analysis, interior and graphic design. They do operations, merchandising, and food service. Ultimately, A to Z, trying to help you best design and lay out a store and even develop branding. And they've worked with a number of study group members over the years and others throughout the industry. And then a brief bit about Calloway Oil and Easy Stop and Trenton. So Trenton joined his father-in-law, Tommy Hunt, at Calloway Oil back in 2020. And he brings with him a broad spectrum of retail and consumer products experience in their family business. Previous roles he's had include marketing, branding, supply chain management, and product development. So a good amount of knowledge here on the call today. We want this to be as educational as possible for you. So if you have a question, you're on mute, but please type that into the GoToWebinar dialog box, and I can read those questions and I'll relay them to our presenters at an appropriate time. We'll be no longer than 60 minutes, and hope you find this to be really educational. So with that in mind, Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about C-store design and how generations fit into that.
Thanks, Jed, and good afternoon, everybody. You know, when I first talked to Jed and Hillary about this particular webinar, I thought I really needed to find a couple of key people to include in a panel here. And I wanted them younger, smarter, and better looking than me. And I couldn't find that. So I got two guys with 2 out of 3. I'll let you figure out which 2 they are, and we'll kind of go from there. But both Austin and Trenton are relatively new to the industry. And I think that's the key. That's what we really wanted to focus on, is this next generation and who they are, what they do, how they think, et cetera. So for us, generational design includes not only the customers, which we all talk about, you know, Gen X, Y, Z, and all that kind of thing, but also within our own companies, you know, the next generation, and with our vendors and our key partners, you know, their next generation. So things continue to evolve and things continue to change in this industry. So what I wanted to do first is let each one of these 2 gentlemen introduce a little bit about their company. We'll start with Austin and the slide that says who we are. Austin, tell us, I know Jed did an awesome job on it, but from your perspective, tell me about Paragon.
Yeah, so, you know, Jed did a wonderful job, so thanks for the opportunity, Jed. But Paragon, like many other businesses right now, we're changing as generations come through, and we've been at this now for 38 years, thanks to Mike and his hard work. You know, but we're retail strategists. We work with our clients, much like Trenton, and understanding who you are as a brand. You know, a brand is made up of so much more than just a name and a logo. Your brand is your site design. Your brand is the layout of your store. The brand is what people see and feel when they walk into a store. Much in the same thing, you know, what's your company culture? How do your employees enjoy working at you know, within your store, within your brand? And so talking and working through the strategy overall is what we do best. And so, yes, we do the interiors, we do the graphics, we do the, you know, we do a lot of the fun stuff. We also, we get down and dirty with our clients to really understand who they are and what will take them to the next level. So there's a lot more I could say about Paragon, but I'll try to be brief.
Well, we all appreciate that, but how long have you been with Paragon?
I've been with Paragon for a little under 3 years now. I joined Paragon coming from the commercial banking side, so a little different perspective. So yeah.
Okay. And your wife works for Paragon.
She does, and you being my father-in-law and us being a family business, this is a complete setup of a question, but yes. My better half and my ultimate boss, yes, works at Paragon. She's been here for 15 years. She's director of retail design, does a wonderful job, has an incredible team. So yes, family business.
So has your wife and father-in-law ever ganged up on you in an argument over business?
Never. It's been pure bliss.
Okay, good answer. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Thank goodness.
And Trenton, after that amazing display, we're going to do the same thing with you. I just want to know a little bit of the history of Easy Stop. And I just heard that you've been around since, you know, for a few years, but give me the background, you know, about Easy Stop.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, thank you guys for having me, first of all, today and the opportunity to talk to you all. Very grateful to be here, and Jed and study groups as a whole, we found it immensely valuable. So happy to help out, hopefully share some valuable insights with the rest of the members here today. But you guys have taken the liberty of putting together a few slides, I think, for us. So I'll take everybody through those. So Calloway Oil Company, much like probably many of the folks that are on the call, started out with very humble beginnings. It was started by Helen and Hugh Calloway in 1957, along with Helen's father. So Mr. Calloway's father-in-law was the first. So he was actually the first son-in-law in the business, and it's kind of been a pattern that we've kept going. So they joined in 57 and had their first bolt plant in 58, as well as 3 full-service operations, and originally did a lot of home heat and oil deliveries, farm, agriculture, delivering all the way around. So they did that for a number of years. And then in 84 was the shift to convenience stores. So they started to recognize the change in the model from full service stations over to convenience stores. And so we launched our first convenience store in 84. In 89, as you can see, the next son and son-in-law came into the business of Tommy Hunt, who is our president and CEO today, as well as his brother-in-law, Mr. Calloway's son, Hugh, also came into the business. So that was in 89, and they successfully ran the business for a number of years. Marty retired in 2019. And at that time, Tommy became the sole owner of the company, and he asked Julia, his daughter, and my wife, so again, a lot of parallels here, to come back to the business, and had a discussion with the 2 of us about what that would look like. And that was a really exciting time for the 2 of us. Julia, you know, who had been coming here since she was a little girl, always kind of, as she says, she always had this North Star kind of guiding her, that she was hopeful throughout her experiences that she would be drawn back to the company and have that opportunity. And myself, a starstruck boy by this girl, not necessarily her North Star, I met her in Texas, and we both had good careers in retail, just happened to go together well. And so after we had been married and been living here for a few years, he asked us both to come and join the business and help develop it and advance it for future generations. So that's really our goal. We try to look at it each day as we're part of the mission to continue to move this company along, as probably many others, onto the next generation.
Now, what a fantastic story. And I'm going to wager that most of the people on this call have similar stories. multiple generations, things that started, as you said, humble beginnings. We all start somewhere. And as things continue to grow and evolve and you include more family members, things change. And I think that's really what we're talking about today is things change. And do we change with it? Do we make those right choices as we go? But I got to ask you, Trenton, the same thing I asked Austin. Has your wife and father-in-law ever ganged up on you in a business or a personal situation? And no one's listening. Just tell us now one of those stories.
Absolutely, all the time.
Well, all right. So you're honest, and Austin is talking up to me. So I appreciate both of you for doing that. You gotta pick your spots in the truth. So Austin, flipping back to you for just a minute. When did you meet, Trenton and Julia and start this relationship?
Yeah, so this was actually one of my very first relationships here at Paragon, and one of the things I take a lot of pride in is the relationship. And so it was, one of my first sales calls, and it was actually talking with Tommy. Tommy had reached out and wanted to know more about Paragon, who we were, what we did. And so we just started a little bit of a just fact finding together and understanding who they were, what they were trying to do. Got on a video call with him, and then that's when I met Trenton and Julia, and thought, hey, this could be a lot of fun working with these guys, because there's a lot of generational movement within the industry, and there's a lot of opportunity there. And so we met my very first year here at Paragon, and we've been having some fun ever since.
So Trenton, did you know that you were his very first customer?
I did, actually. I wasn't the first call. It was a few calls after that, after he tried to persuade that he was much more seasoned than he was, like we all tend to do from time to time. He revealed that we were one of his first clients, but like myself, he had a good leader above him, a good example to follow along with and to bounce ideas off of. So that always makes things smooth, and we had a lot of confidence with him, and certainly his better half. We got the chance to meet Whitney early on as well. And she's an amazing designer, as you know, and person, as both of you both share. So it was just great from the beginning.
I don't know how to follow that up, because yes, she is amazing and she is incredible. I am incredibly proud of her, and I'm a little proud of Austin too. So we'll just throw that in. So this was kind of your first take, Trenton, your first store that you and Julia said, okay, we're going to get into this, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's definitely true. We had done a few remodels prior to engaging with you guys, and so we kind of joined with you all post new brand development, but we knew that we needed to find a partner who could help us really make the brand a reality. So in 2020, when Julia and I joined the business, which was a great time to join the convenience store industry, we joined in March of 2020, where volumes went to 50%. It was a very exciting time. So we had a very interesting year that first year, learning a lot. We had grand plans to be out in the stores a lot, but as we all know, some different things kind of occurred, and a lot of us spent a lot more time in the office working on a number of different projects. But it gave Julie and I a good perspective and good time to both kind of analyze and do some consulting on our business. And we knew we had a bunch of key areas. One, we didn't really have much of a brand presence. Our fuel branded partner was our main brand presence that we had overall. And both Julie and I, working in consumer packaged goods and having various retail and product development backgrounds, both recognize the value of a brand and the control that lends and provides you with, and the leverage you can use in the marketplace. And there were some really good competitive brands in our market. We have Weigel's Convenience Stores, which are in our market, which is a great brand. We have Pilot, who started out right here in our backyard in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then that's a tremendous brand, right? So we had a lot of huge brands that were out here that we wanted to start to compete with and leverage on our own and make our own standpoint. So that was one of those areas of opportunity that we had already acknowledged, and we found a good partner to help us with that. because I'd had some experience doing work with marketing firms before, so that part felt more comfortable. But then really as we came to this point where it met the crossroads of bringing that implementation to life, as we did a few small remodels, we realized how complex that can be, and also how challenging it can be to kind of convey that to your architect, to your planners, to your equipment vendors, et cetera. And so we were eating up a lot of time in this communication process. And so I think that was one of the things that really helped us really initiate and launch things with you all, as you guys are from the convenience store industry. You have a great grasp of the industry trends that were going on. And so as we met and talked with you all, you guys really helped us elevate and bring the brand that we had worked so hard to develop and that our family's predecessors had worked so hard to keep throughout the years to life in this new fashion with this rebrand process and launching a new generation of stores for us.
I think it was that great philosopher Mike Tyson that said, you know, we all have a plan until we get punched in the mouth. And I guess COVID was your punch in the mouth when you just started, huh? Everything changed.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, Trenton, I actually have a good question from my perspective. I mean, I'm always eager to understand it, especially what triggered you and Julia to where you said, hey, we got to make a change. We've always known Easy Stop as this. We know it needs to go to this. Obviously, there's some food forward aspects to it, but what was the mind shift there and the thinking behind, pulling the trigger on we got to do something different?
Yeah. Well, I think keeping things simple is always a great guiding principle when you think about business overall. And Julia and I had both had experience with largely successful international brands, her coming from Mars Chocolate and myself coming from Radio Systems Corporation, which is the parent brand for Pet Safe and Sport Dog and Invisible Fence brands throughout the world. So both of us having kind of a perspective on brands and retail and CPG, we kind of knew that, hey, there's a lot of consistency and there's a lot of leverage that you can gain in the market if you're consistent with your message, your colors, your branding, all of those concepts. So really, when you think about it, the investment in marketing really helps you keep things more simple when you come up with a solid brand. And so I think that's really what led us to, hey, we need to redesign our logos, our color patterns, and everything, and make it consistent so we have a simple go-to-market strategy so we're not competing. And when we looked at our assets at that point in time, we were all over the place. I mean, we had different colored. I mean, we were red. As you saw those old logos, yes, we were red. Yes, we were yellow. Yes, we had Easy Stop, but we had it in about 75 different fonts, 75 different shades of red. I mean, just you name it, it was out there. And sometimes we talked with yellow, sometimes we talked with black. Like, it was just the wild, wild west. So really us defining a brand and then trying to be more cohesive in our strategy and communication strategy allows us to get the important message over to the consumer across versus them always trying to discern what are they trying to tell me now from what I'm gaining from engaging with their brand.
When you're looking at a new store, I'm always fond of saying, are you ready, aim, shoot, or are you ready, shoot, aim? The aim part is getting the right information to know what your target is, know who your target audience is, know what you're talking about. And what I'm hearing from you right now is you were working on the marketing in the background and the brand and the colors and all that's great. What additional analysis did you do on the site, on the first 3 sites that you're looking at, to determine who your customer is?
Yeah, so I think historically, so we're in a pretty homogeneous area overall where we are in East Tennessee with our communities around here. So there's not a whole lot of, we did leverage some outside parties and some outside sources to get some data and some demographic data and to layer on that information to kind of help bolster our opinions. But we also had a strong concentration of stores in the area. So a lot of the trends that we see, and I'm not saying there's not one-offs or nuances to each store's sales, et cetera, but there are certain things that remain true overall through the geography that we serve. So we were able to use a lot of our internal data to help us make some of these decisions. And then as well as applying things to NACS data and industry and category data as well. So one of the huge things that you see there in that picture, that's our Calloway Tennessee kitchen concept, our made to order prepared foods section that we came up with, and that is all new to us. When we were looking at our sales and looking at just comparing some of the NACS data, our food sales across the board, I mean, we were traditional Coke and smoke convenience stores in terms of beverages, roller dogs, and that was about it as far as it came to having anything in the way of food. So food sales was less than, I want to say it was right around 3 or 4% of our sales overall, inside sales before we got here. So we knew that if we wanted to compete and really get on trend with where our industry was going, we needed to develop a comprehensive food strategy, and that would be a big component. That's why it's so up front and center there next to our checkout. So that's part of the evolution of the design that you all helped us to create. But using NACS data, historical internal data, as well as demographic data that we got from other third-party sources, all that stuff layered together is really what helped us make our strategy.
And I'm curious, you said food sales, 3 to 4% food sales compared to inside sales prior to this concept. With this new concept, any idea what those rough benchmarks are?
Yes, and on the sites that we have, we're superseding the NACS averages. I think that if you look at NACS averages, it should be around 20%, I believe it is the number right now. So on our new stores and new builds, we're higher than that. So we're very excited that the new concept is working in terms of that. Overall, in terms of our sales, we're 25 stores, and we really only have 3.5-ish. We have 3 stores that are this concept, right, 100%, but then we really only have 3.5-ish kind of stores that are in food sales overall. So still as a percentage, we're still relatively low, below the NACS averages. That's something that we're working on as our strategic plans, but we're certainly turning the battleship. It's a slow turn, but we're making it degree by degree, right?
Yeah, it's definitely an evolution of rationalizing your chain over time.
Austin, if you were to pick, top 3 or 4 things when you're going from the traditional convenience to more of a food-centric approach like they've done, what are some of the keys that you look for from a design perspective to accomplish that?
Yeah, so we're going to a huge shift there in that when we are acting and looking at it, actually looking at going into food service, we really got to start very macro. From a design perspective, we've got to start with the site. Couple questions there are, are you going to do sit down? Are you going to do drive through? Understanding the food concept and what the menu is and what we're doing is a big key there, because it impacts your ingress egress. It impacts that experience, that customer journey, right when they pull onto the site. So we've got to be able to navigate a lot of different things, compared to your traditional side where it was just, go in, get out, a couple parking spots, and you have your fuel. So that's the site side. I would say the interior, what you're looking at now in this picture, a couple of things come into mind. Queuing being one. What you're leading off with, how big of a presence do you want to make your food program be? Is it the show? Is it the star of the show? If it's not, what is? We really got to clarify that and understand that. So I said queuing a minute ago, but just going through and understanding the customer journey and the customer experience and what it looks like to order. If you're going to do a grab and go concept paired with it, where are we locating it? And then I think a big key that gets overlooked a lot of times, especially with a lot of different clients we work with, is operations. What does the back of the house look like? How are we pulling this off? We've got to think through the delivery side, your trucks and getting the product in. How are we preparing it? What goes into that? So there can be a lot of clients that'll go through and do a huge, robust food program, which is great. It has to be well thought out. It has to be very, we have to plan it, and we have to go through, our designers do a great job of going through the specifics in mind. And then past operation, we want to be efficient. Like I said, we just, right now with the labor force, it's incredibly hard to find consistency in labor. So we've got to try to figure out how to do more with less, but still give people plenty of room to operate and move and get around. And then I would say the last part is how do we market it, right? How do we present it? In this picture you're looking at, I mean, there's a lot of different, I would say, elements materialistically, that soften this, that make it look more appealing. We go through that. It's not just your traditional can lighting or anything like that. So overall, we're trying we're creating an experience, and outside of that cash register, we're trying to create a restaurant that happens to sell fuel, not a C-store or a fuel stop that happens to sell some food. And that's a huge mind shift. And so we really have to work through that with our clients. Some are better than others, so get it. Some don't, but we get there of it, eventually. But those are the things that we look at.
Austin, one thing that intrigues me, you customer journey from the time they enter the site till they exit the site is really important. When working with a lot of retailers, is there a specific aspect to that journey that you find they often overlook or underappreciate?
Yeah, Jed, that's a great question. I think it's really hard whenever you have a site, whether it's a new build or a redesign. There's a lot of ambition, there's a lot of desire to be able to have it all. And you'll find a lot of retailers may want to have other units off to the side that they can lease. We're looking for the best ROI on this land and on this parcel. And you'll find, we'll find clients that say they want to do a drive-through, a car wash, 10 pumps, that we can't fit everything. So, and when I say that is whenever you go through this, you look at the logistics of a site. We're all consumers. We all go to retail sites. We immediately have an experience when we can't navigate that site, or we're pulling into a store and somebody's coming out of the drive-through and we're head on with someone leaving the fuel canopy. So those are pinch points, really evaluating and understand how we're managing the flow of traffic around these sites is very critical to success, in my opinion. And so what we have to do with a lot of clients is say, hey, you either need a little bit more land, or you can't do this drive-through, or you shouldn't do this, or going through those strengths and weaknesses of what we're trying to achieve here, and get the best outcome we can.
Trenton, looking at this interior picture here, I think it's the interior, I can't see it, but there's a natural transition. There's things that tie it all together, like the wood above and the can lighting within that. But then there's this transition as you hit the order kiosk. The laminate colors change, the lighting changes, the flow changes. And I think it speaks to Jed's question of the journey. How do you think your customers feel versus the traditional checkout area to the right and then the food to the left? Do they see it? Is it obvious to them, or is it just a natural flow? They do it without even thinking. How do you think they feel?
So I think it has two dynamics to it. So I think it's both a yes and a no. I think there was there's definitely the yes aspect of there's the differentiation that you called out. There's the separation between the food concept and the C-store concept, and that was a very purposeful decision for us. It's not necessarily the right way for everybody, right? I think you have to consult kind of the strategy that you're putting forth, and that's one of the things I think you guys teased out very well is, hey, what are you defining the strategy of? What are you really trying to achieve? And for us, because we're not known as being a food store, that was a huge separation, and why one of the main reasons why we chose of having a strategic second name inside of our store. So to your point, Mike, there with the design, we were trying to differentiate those two and really call that out, that there's kind of a little bit of a separate experience that's going on. But as you look at it, and really as you called them to your eye to the top line there, as it curves around and just kind of easily progresses, it creates the counter space below it also matches that, and everything just kind of moves from left to right. So as you place your orders there at the self-order kiosk or self-checkout there, you can kind of move around through the different experiences of the self-checkout or of the in-person interaction, the traditional checkout of the convenience store. So it really gives you kind of multiple touch points to kind of make your own journey as a consumer, and also adds that nice progression from left to right that people are familiar with as you look across the page or as you interact with anything, that you kind of start on one side. And again, we kind of put it that way too, to start with food and then kind of move around to the rest of the store, to Austin's point.
I see the self-checkout as a little bit of a generational design change, where old fogies like me tend to want to talk to someone and blah, blah, blah. We're stuck in our ways, right? What kind of percentage do you see of your food customers using the order kiosks?
It's been higher than we've expected. It's been well over. So it's a little bit of a distinction. So we have a couple of different setups here. The number of transactions is over 50% that are doing the self-pay on the orders, because we have it kind of set up where we have ordering and checkout for the food portion over there to the left. And in the middle, those are kiosks that can do both. They're set up primarily as self-checkouts. So those get used the least amount, but there is still a good portion of our transactions that are going through it. And then we have a lot of transactions over there to the right of our traditional checkouts that are manned by our employees. So we still have a very high percentage that are still going through our registers. But if you think about it in terms of the food side, we have a lot more accuracy with our orders. There's a lot of speed that's occurring over there on the left-hand side. And to your point, there's a lot of generational difference. We have gotten folks a lot more accustomed on the food side to checking themselves out. But with traditional C-store goods, that's still a gap that we have yet to bridge. And not that we have to, right? There's something about interacting with somebody who knows your name and has a great experience with there on the C-store side. There's value in that too.
And speaking generationally, have you done the app? Do you have any sort of app or any orders through that?
No, we do not have an app at this time.
Do you see the numbers growing as far as the use of the order kiosks and the self-checkout? Is it growing even slowly?
I can't say that I've had, again, the transactions that have gone through, we really funnel people through those self-order kiosks on the food side, and the way that we chose to kind of go to market with our food concept. So you don't really have another option. You could go to one of our attendants and order, and we've trained our sales team there to help folks out with ordering or do whatever. But we made a huge push initially just because we didn't want that. So the number of transactions that we're getting through those self-order kiosks is very high, and we're quite pleased with the direction that that's going in overall.
Moving on, the slide that says "nice people, good stuff." What a nice feeling when you read that, you see that. I know that was intentional, but tell me what that means to you. Is that something that you've used in marketing before, or where did that come from?
Yeah, so that came about in our rebranding exercise that we did, and nice people, good stuff was just a way for us to embody the culture of East Tennessee. You think about the South, and you think about the traditions that we all have of typically trying to be more courteous, being friendly in our interactions with folks. So it really sticks out to us about nice people. So nice people being known for nice people, and then good stuff. Good stuff is certainly a good challenge to our organization to always offer good stuff, that we would be a nice place that you would stop in and say, hey, I went there and they had good stuff, right? They had good convenience store items, they had good food, they had a plethora of items that were all in this good stuff. Good can also be, sometimes we think great, and great maybe seemed a little bit too aspirational for us as we were going through things. Great sometimes gives people the wrong kind of connotation, and there's nothing wrong with being good. If you're good at something, someone says, hey man, you're good at that. Like, that's a great compliment, right? So that's kind of where we landed on that phrase overall of being nice people, good stuff.
I love that. I love the simplicity of the design, and of course I'm patting Paragon's back here, but I know it came from you in your marketing efforts and the things that you brought that said, hey, here's who we are. So digging a little deeper, what other input did you and Julia have in the initial design ideas that guided you to this end game, right? This is the end game, but there was so much going on. And, the old saying, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. No, I want to know how the sausage was made here. I want you to share some stories of, how you guided this design, obviously with the help of Paragon, but this is your design. That we were just the vehicle for it,
Yeah, so I would say we did a full branding exercise just like you guys do, where we had everyone involved, and it wasn't just Julia and myself. I don't want to exclude Tommy on this, or even some of the other members of our organization that participated along the way. At the time, our sales manager, our buyer, he was in as well on some of these aspects, and so were some of our longtime supervisors and employees as well, as we bounced off ideas. Our receptionist, shields desk, everybody, got the comment as we were working around. But we did the full design process where we started out by identifying kind of mission, scope, and that was really where we landed on wanting to be traditional to the easy stop, keeping our same look. We talked about everything. Do we rebrand? Do we come up with a new name? Do we need a new color scheme? All of these things, right? So we started out with a completely blank slate overall, and we got back to no, easy stop means something to us. Some of the colors in there, we didn't want to completely abandon the red. We wanted to find something that was a little softer and a little more modern and maybe a little more timeless. So adding the dark blues and light blues and things that we added along that way. But we kept some elements of the red and of the yellow that we had in our original logos that were made up. But we went through the entire process. We went through identifying values, identifying words, and it was great. It was funny seeing the interaction take place between myself and Julia and Tommy as I look back on it. Tommy kind of, perked up his ears and kind of turned his head when we said we're going to go down this branding initiative a little bit. He believed in the truth of what we were trying to say of a simple design and a go-to-market strategy that was consistent could help us have a better overall business strategy. He was always a believer of that. He could see what we were expressing as we provided him with examples of other international and national brands and other competitors in our markets, right? It's easy to go see that in the marketplace when you have really great competitors that you can go look at and see how well they're doing at it too. So that part wasn't so hard, but the words and then the mood boards and when you get the mood board up there, and the first time you see a mood board, if anybody's gone through a branding exercise, I've been through it a couple of times with previous work experience in other companies, right? And I'd always taken it kind of as this is a thing that you do in a marketing world, right? And I think Tommy looked at it and he was like, what in the world are all these things doing on one page together? And how are we going to wind up? How is this going to help us, define who our brand is? But very quickly, professional marketing organizations such as yourself do a really good job of then taking that brief glimpse of where you feel like you're about to go right off the rails for a second as you go down that path to boom, here's a concrete couple of images of how this could apply to your store, what your brand looks like, what your logo could look like, how you would present nice people, good stuff, right? And as soon as you start to make that connection and then see how that shows through and bring through that personality, I think that's where he could really see the value. And it was a great experience overall. And he was 100% behind it after that. I mean, the first time we saw interior renderings and elevations and things like that, you could just see how everybody could see how these words of being quick, of being nice people, of having good stuff, of all this stuff coming together, really laid out.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you were to look at your traditional store, just pick any one of your stores and get it in your mind, and then you look at this store that we're looking at. Describe the demographic of the typical customer in each, because I'm going to bet that they're different.
Yeah, they absolutely are. So this one, so depending on the offering of the store, definitely changes the demographics of who we're getting to come in, right? And this store is certainly in an area that has some good industry around it, so it has some working folks there to help us out with our food sales throughout the day. But it also has, it's in the middle of a community around some other housing and stuff. So a lot of moms, a lot of people that are going in and out. And we're definitely skewing a little bit more female. Our inside sales have also shifted. These stores that have been more food forward have been less lottery and have been less cigarettes than we have in our traditional store. And we did that purposely, right? Lottery, as we all know as retailers, is a very low margin product. So we're happy to trade some of the margin that or some of the dollar sales or top line sales or units, if you want to, in terms of just transactions that we have on lottery for some of the food sales that we now have. We're happy to make that trade given the margin change between them. We try not to forget about it either. We still purposely and intentfully do have lottery in this store. We just have it at a much smaller scale. We also have some vending machines in there as well to help some of that volume. So we made a lot of design choices as we talked through with Austin and Whitney and Jason and the rest of the team about what do we really want to do, right? Versus some of our other stores that are smaller or are a little bit still more of that traditional format that I mentioned earlier when I was talking with Jed about the percentages there of still a little bit more packaged bev, beer, and cigarette stores. So we still have some of those too, and they definitely have a different customer.
Trenton, one question I'm going to touch on as it relates to this with demographic. Same community that the store is in, but as you do a major remodel of the store, bring in the food concept or something from more of a traditional concept, do you see a generational or demographic change in who your customer is? Again, same community, but different people coming in, and who does this more appeal to that the older store, didn't, I guess, or did?
So any assumptions that I'd make specifically around the demographics, I think inside the store would be more anecdotal, Jed. It would just be kind of what I've observed. This one is in a community and it has a lot of neighborhoods around it, so I knew that there were already a lot of families there. I knew that from the demographic data going into it. So whether it's a shift or not, or it's just better tied into the community that it's serving, it'd be hard for me to really say with hard data. I wish I had more data on our inside sales customers from the credit card companies. You'd think they'd give us something for the amount of money they make us pay. Sorry, that's just that coming out of me. I'm sure many people on the call can probably identify with that. But I wish I had more data about our internal consumer, but it would really be more anecdotal what we see. We do also have a dog park and a playground at this location as well, so we do see a lot of children, especially on the weekends, especially as it's gotten warmer here in East Tennessee. So all that stuff is encouraging. I think it's moving us towards the trends. But everything I have to rely on right now in terms of guessing at what demographic we're seeing is just based off of sales numbers. And it has been a shift. We haven't had nearly the amount of lottery. We haven't had nearly the amount of cigarettes in this store. And we have had a ton of food. Like I said, we were over-indexing versus our forecast on food. We haven't necessarily seen the numbers that we thought we would see in cigarettes and in lottery, even with some diminished numbers that we had put over top of those. But beer has stayed heavy, stayed steady. It's kind of come in right at the same amount. So it's not necessarily, I think you got to think about it in a different way than maybe we would have traditionally of like, hey, a C-store is beer, cigarettes, lottery, right? Those are your key components. And not to say that those things are still not important. And we haven't lost sight of that because certainly they pay bills for us. But it's really about branching out and making sure that we have a focus on higher margin categories and food service being one of those huge portions for us.
I think that aligns with, if you are pursuing and attracting that younger generation, the next generation, if you will, those things, the cigarettes, beer, and lottery will be less. I mean, that's just a fact, right? That demographic isn't going to, migrate to that as much as previous generations, but they are going to go to other things, whether it be, energy drinks, food, snacks, different things, and even some of the more eclectic, organic, things that the younger generation might do. Is that fair?
Yes. No, I would say our inside sales do align with what you would typically find in the NACS demographics for younger generations or on trend with the trends that we're projecting as being the next generation of consumer, right? So I would say from that standpoint, Mike, to your question and to Jed's, yes, absolutely, I would say that, but I just have a hard time saying 100% for sure, right? Because I don't have that internalized consumer data, or where I'm getting all that demographic information of who my direct consumer and what their purchasing is. I wish I had it, but we don't really have that through Nielsen or something where I could see.
If we're going to bring you back, Trenton, you got to get better data. Come on, let's start gathering the right data. So, one of the things that we talk about at Paragon is North Star. And once you establish who you are, and you have very clearly established, who you are, nice people, good stuff, I think. So we've got the North Star, right? But then all the little things have got to point to that North Star. So, Austin, I'd like you to kind of flip through some of the little things, if you will, and just briefly, because we are very verbose here and we're going to run out of time, but briefly, just point out how it all points to their North Star.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mike. And Trenton and Julia are the ones that were behind all this. I think it's one of those things where we lined up with what we try to point, our clients to, and them getting it. But then there's a difference, everyone, of understanding it, but then implementing it and actually following through with it, and receiving some thoughts behind different things too. So, I think I'm going to backtrack because as we've been talking, I've been, flowing through some of these details. But when we just, what I love about the Easy Stop brand is every single thing that you look at here, it doesn't have to say Easy Stop, but it has the color, it has the right font, it all feels like, and Trenton's talked about it a ton. It's cohesiveness and consistency. Everywhere you go into the store, you know where you are. You know you're at an Easy Stop, where you can get that feeling because of the material that's around. If anywhere you look, you're probably going to see a Easy Stop branded something, if that makes sense. And it's not overpowering. It's not in your face. It's not overwhelming. It's just there. But as I like to talk to our clients, let's promote your brand. Let's promote the Easy Stop brand. Let's not promote, sorry, but a Red Bull, the Red Bull cases, and yes, those do sell. Yes, you probably got it for free, or those shippers or whatever. But let's be consistent in our offering, and Easy Stop does an incredible job. It's something as simple as the creamer and sugar. It's in their type font. There's a little bit of that good people, nice stuff feel to each one of each of these signs. And a lot, some people may think that's silly. It's something that resonates. It's something that people appreciate, and it ultimately, that cohesiveness is what helps you with the multiple locations, because every time someone comes to your store, they know what they're going to get. And every time someone sees Easy Stop, they know they're going to get nice people and good stuff. So I applaud Trenton and what they've done and how they've rolled it out and executed it.
Just kind of in summation here, it was fun. The thing I loved about this project, number one, I took a step back and Whitney and Austin took lead, but watching you, Trenton, and Julia, this next generation come together from two sides, from strategic partners, from Calloway and Paragon coming together, and what you were trying to do, and I think very successfully, was you're trying to change the demographic of your customer. You were trying to, you realized, okay, that's not the future, that's the past. So let's, reach to the future. And God bless you, you did it. These are great stores. We're proud to be a part of it. And you guys should be proud of, the success on these stores. So congratulations.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for your help. It certainly wouldn't have been possible without you guys, that's for sure. And study groups as well. One of the other ways that we were brought to you guys. So we're very grateful to be in the industry and to have so many other great families and family members who are active in their businesses that are willing to share best practices, and a whole industry that's both competing with each other, but also lending a hand to each other to keep small businesses alive. So it's a testament to everything that we have represented here today. Yourselves on Paragon for the great design, and study groups as a whole, helping small businesses overall.
Well, from one multi-generational family business to another, again, fantastic job.
Thanks, sir.
Absolutely. Trenton, quick question from the audience. So learning, whenever we engage in any kind of, especially major project like this, we learn stuff along the way. What would you add to the next one that maybe you overlooked on this one?
So I think there's been a number of things that we already incorporated into the last design that we changed. I think that there were a few cost-cutting things that we were able to realize in terms of changing materials that we had selected in terms of finishes. So I think that those are some of the biggest learnings, was just some layout, some devotional space layout. As we got into, we were very close, right? Like, so Austin and Crew, they got us very close on the design in terms of the layout of how we wanted our equipment to go inside the store. But then as the reality came and we started to operate in it, you started to notice, hey, can we get away with a little bit less dry storage to favor a little bit more refrigeration, or what trade-offs? So I wouldn't say that there were huge learnings in terms of the overall design was right at its core. It was more just refining the process, making the hallway down the bathrooms a little bit wider, right? So that was another thing that we changed between. We've already built a second one that looks just like this one, and that was one of the key things that we changed, just to try to make that an easier, because, at the end of the day, bathrooms are still very important to all of our customers, right? So making that experience better. So there was a number of small tweaks that we've worked through, but overall the design was solid based off of the initial work.
Well, sounds really good. Well, all of you guys, I really appreciate you being on the call, Trenton, sharing your experience, Austin and Mike sharing the Paragon journey through this as well, and helping them out and creating this generational concept. For the audience, I'm going to send out a recording of this as well as the slide deck with the pictures in it, the contact information you'll receive as well. And I know these guys would be very happy to answer any additional questions that may come to your mind. Just we want this to be educational, and really appreciate everybody generously giving of their time. So look forward to seeing you on the next webinar, and hope you have a great day. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.